right, folks, guys, gals, non-binary pals, friends of Frisbee here at Bob Dean's Field and at home watching on YouTube and wherever you are getting your ULTI.TV content. Welcome to the final match of the first day of our stream coverage for the 2023 New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships Division 1. My name, as always, is Blair Munro.
I'm Kelsey Bielik.
And we are here to watch the Honeys opening pull on your screen in the light kits, facing off against the Thunder from Down Under.
Launching a beautiful pull from Ollie Judd from the Honeys downfield. Really, actually, just to talk on the last few games that we've seen, that's a really impressive pull to start the game. We've got a strong wind from the right side of your screen to the left, also sometimes from the close part of your screen away towards the bleachers, and just actually a lot of coverage. She did pull that out of bounds. I see the disc is bricked, but great pull to start off the game. So we do have the Thunder from Down Under in black.
Rasheen Harris looking to swing to a tira on the near sideline, but it's going to be out. Burke puts a huge shot up, finds Mance inbounds.
And it's
no question as to whether or not that one was in, so a great early break for Honeys.
And Burke with a wealth of experience under her belt. She's a long-time Frisbee veteran in the Wellington scene, also having played internationally representing Aotearoa New Zealand on the world stage a few times as well. She's rocking the Ziggy Stardust haircut, apparently from Halloween still. And shout out to Tawa College, supporting from Wellington and supporting Ziggy Stardust as well from back home.
And we had the privilege of having Miriam Burke in the booth for the commentary at the Division 2 Mixed Ultimate Championships at Awakairangi Park in Wellington just last week. I was really grateful to have her offer her insight and experience to talk us through some of the games that were happening down there. But now it's the big time. And she's decided to take the field. So once again, I am joined by Kelsey Bielik. What a privilege it is to be here. As Honeys are going to come out on the second point, we have a game to 15 ahead of us, 90 minutes on the clock. It's going to be Swanson with the disc for the pull, as it is a male matching majority point.
And you can see the power behind that disc. That's a testament not only to the throw, but also, again, to the wind at their backs. So we've got the Thunder from Down Under now trying to score upwind, so a little bit of an extra challenge for them. And to recognize that Honeys have come down in a zone. Now, interestingly, Honeys, hailing from Wellington, they're a relatively new club with a lot of players who've played with each other before. They're familiar, but a new club, and great to see them in the Div 1 space. The launch goes downfield, but cleaned up.
Great block by Powick to give the disc back to the Thunder from Down Under. So some of these players you may recognize from last week's Division 2 championships. Some Taranaki Thunder players who made it all the way to the finals, and maybe one. I won't spoil it in case you haven't seen that game for yourself yet. We've got Aaron Whitehead working with Owen Ellington in the upfield space right now.
So again, it's an eclectic team, a team of ringers, Thunder from Down Under, quite literally representing players from across the Motu, across the country. We've got players from across Eastern Cape, across the North Island, as Blair just mentioned, Taranaki, including the South Island players hailing from Queenstown, even, which has a budding Frisbee scene that's quite transient in its own space. So really great that this team and this bid, which is normally reserved for our neighbors over in Australia, has been taken by a domestic team to give a lot of these players in the Div 2 space, as well as across the country, the opportunity to get together, form a team, and compete at that highest level.
As you point out, Kelsey, the way we typically split the 12 positions available at Division 1, the 3 highest rated teams from each of the 3 regions across the country, one floating bid. One bid goes to the region for the previous winner of the Division 2 championship, and we typically do send one to Australia as Ellington pulls that one down. However, the only people brave enough to come across from Australia in the face of the Ultimate New Zealand is putting on display are your crew at ULTI.TV. Head on over to patreon.com. If you want to see some highlights just like that one, a great laser beam straight through to Aaron Whitehead for the score, putting the Thunder from Down Under on the board. Head on over to patreon.com/ULTI.TV. Give us your spare change.
And awesome to see, as I mentioned with the wind, it's really settled down this morning. Conditions where we're having the, as they say in North America, the winter mix in this late spring, summertime. Winter mix of wind, rain, cold rain, warm rain, and then finally sunshine. A little bit of everything, overcast, clear. So it's kind of finally figured itself out, and conditions, especially the wind, have mellowed out a little bit. Nonetheless, a potential third player and a risk anytime you're putting up the disc. So really cool to see both teams scoring on the highest side for their first points, both on the board. I think that's just a really strong testament to throwing abilities on players of both teams and offensive abilities too. And we've got Honey's Garnier jumping over the disc for a little bit of added fun drama. Judd commanding the center space and with the handlers back. And we've got, looks like a junk defense that Thunder from Down Under is throwing.
Huge play there by Honey's Joshua Wong, getting that one through.
A speedy man, how did that
Somehow.
happen?
How?
We had Allen chasing that down, and you know, Blair, even seeing him chasing the disc, I thought on defense he was going to get it. It looked like he was right behind it. He was, you know, we had Gardner and two players from the Honeys in the end zone there, but I just saw Allen's speed chasing down that disc. I thought he was going to have it, but really, really great to see that, you know, he was just not quite there. Yeah, an exciting point. Let's see that one more time.
What a great chase. Wong managing to get the read, jumping it inbounds.
And he saw those two players that were isolated. Allen off to the races. And great catch under pressure. You know, it's always challenging.
Huge play.
Back up your teammates, and you want to provide that support, but unfortunately, it sometimes without the proper communication can lead to additional challenges in catching the disc yourself. Fortunately there, no amount of pressure is too much. Puts another point for Honeys on the board.
And so, Broadley with the disc to start off everything for the Honeys. Fourth point of the game, hoping to generate another break.
Broadley with the disc.
Touches down early. It's going to be Powick and Whitehead, supported by Larkin and King.
And a great pull by Broadley. I just wanted to touch on the importance of getting down there fast. So by the time that Thunder from Down Under had picked up and moved the disc, they were just about in the brick space. The importance that goes with a good pull is getting the speed to get down there just as fast as you can. Just as, you know, as really as fast as you can, and that is to prevent the next throw from coming up. There's no point in having the perfect pull if you give the team the time and space to move the disc up the field. So it's really critical to have the puller matched with players who are tenacious, hungry to get down and make the pressure, put that pressure on as much as they can in the defensive space. So the disc goes up, and as you can see, the wind tossed it around a little bit. No one else actually touched the disc, so it went straight into the hands of the thrower. And you can't throw a disc to yourself.
And that's a great find there by Swanson on the far sideline. Great throw there through.
Let's see that one more time.
Nice cut, managing to get separation from Larkin. I think that's Zamiri with the grab there.
Zamiri, she's such an agile player, and she's so fast as well. She's really putting that on display there with the amount of space she had between herself and the defender. Wasn't sure where her defender was when she scored that point, but her first step is so strong, and she can move herself so quickly. And again, her top speed is really impressive, making her a formidable opponent and someone you really need to respect on defense, and a great catch by her in the end zone. Of course, when you catch your own throw, for obvious reasons, there's a rule against that, and that is to prevent players from throwing and catching to themselves down the field to score points. Anyway, it can, however, be beneficial to catch your own throw oftentimes when you're playing, and the reason for that is to prevent another player from doing so, or to slow down the defense, to slow down that transition. So it's almost like slowing down the defense even though you know it's going to be a turnover.
And also to prevent losing unnecessary yards on that one.
Definitely, especially when it's so windy. When the disc touches the ground, if it's particularly gusty, it can move the disc. You can lose some even more space.
See a Honey Royal not able to get that one secured, so it's going to give the disc back to the Honeys. Great attempts. I think there were a couple of players underneath that for the Thunder from Down Under who managed to either get a touch or at least get in the way. It's going to go back. Kieran Allen with the disc. We're going to see a horizontal setup.
Vanderpeet on the mark.
Maruli de Barletta working back towards that same far sideline. Atira, I believe, not able to get that one locked in.
Quite an active mark. We're seeing a tight cup, which is taking away as many of the close downfield options as possible, forcing these swings, which it seems Honey's having no issues with.
Leishman and Swanson threads one right through.
Action roll adds style points to the extra points on the board.
Just a fantastic grab there by the Honeys to open up that lead even further. Puteri, I think, with the disc for that score, and it's going to be the second time in the game as well.
To replay that for you guys, we see he's thinking about the hammer, safe swing downfield, and the classic break side swing, and that's so dangerous when you're marking downfield. As soon as the disc makes its way to the break side, you're out of position, and the whole rest of the downfield is available. As soon as the downfield players recognize if they just want to cut into the break space, it's easy. So this is something Honeys do so well. It's a prime example just there. They swing it, so as soon as that one break is made, the disc is on the break side. Beautiful continuation down on the break side, and the defender is completely out of position to stop it from being a point. Really a great example of the importance of breaking and also covering that as a mark.
And so as these teams take a timeout, I believe Thunder from Down Under trying to put a stop to the momentum from Honeys. We'll be back very shortly with a little bit of insight and see what they're discussing as play continues.
We believe mixed is the best for the sport, for the world. That's why we're making a global showcase, starting in Europe, made in Amsterdam. ULTI.TV. ULTI.net.
It's okay though.
It is indeed okay as we come back from the first time out of the game. Honeys up by 3 points now. Not Taranaki, my apologies. The Thunder from Down Under representing Taranaki uniform-wise. But as Kelsey, you pointed out, stretching their nimble fingers all throughout the country to try and pull players together to just see what the general state of Ultimate in New Zealand is. It's going to be absolutely fantastic to see how they perform at the tournament, how teams, without the opportunity to really establish a lot of core chemistry, can perform when they're just looking at the skills and knowledge of the players involved in the teams. But it's going to be Leishman with the disc for the Honeys.
Absolutely, Blair. That's the challenge of Ringer teams. You're pulling together players from everywhere, players with skill, abilities, but just the fact that they haven't drilled with each other, that they don't know the preferences of what everyone likes to do, and the abilities, the strengths, it makes it just a little extra challenge when coming together as a team. Also, of course, when you're a team, there's a lot of momentum in training together and drilling together, getting in shape. They say, as you're no doubt more aware of having studied this, that when friends commit to workout programs together, there's something like, they say 95% of acts are all random, but
96, comfortably 96.
96%, you're 96% more likely to complete the workout program. But it provides a nice space. The team provides that regular consistency to work out and build skills together. So these players are bringing those skills pre-built, but because they haven't drilled them together as much, they are missing potentially those fluid connections. Let's keep watching and see. Doesn't seem to be an issue thus far. With a beautiful snaking, slicey throw through the cup. They're figuring out this zone. They're remaining calm and collected.
And so it's going to be Whitehead with Peters and Fuller working the majority of that offense, driving it from the upfield space, having those players cutting aggressively. Once again, Hansen, who we saw for the AUUC flow last week, just doing that textbook job of stretching open the depth of the defense. She's going to be rewarded. It's just what happens when you've got a player who actually attempts to stretch that deep space. We've got Whitehead at the moment as Burke looks to sag off. Trying to close off the upline channel, but instead opens a hole in the middle for Larkin to bounce one away to Ellington.
And I'm really enjoying these slicey cuts that we're seeing Thunder from Down Under consistently putting through the cup. They're finding the holes and they're punishing them. Also, props to the downfield players for finding that space. Whitehead with an uncharacteristic bubble there. He's been the linchpin, and a quick additional turnover. They've got another chance. Whitehead picking up.
But again, as you say, Whitehead incredibly stable as well. Also working as a teacher for his day job. So there's that instinctive, that call to leadership, to guidance of others that he's demonstrating on the field for us now. Just patient, waiting, showing what needs to be done. We've got Fuller with the disc now. Peters on the near sideline. Ellington with, again, a nice cut, slicing through, as you pointed out.
So, yeah, those slicing passes, as well as a few give-goes, and which leads me to believe that it makes it seem like they are familiar and they are comfortable with each other. Whether that's been built over the course of the day and they're just very adaptable players, it's great to see. It's the risk of bringing together a ringer team, but also not really showing itself right now, as Thunder from Down Under look like they are well drilled. They're calm and collected and practiced and measured and looking to find the open players instead of making miscommunicative mistakes and looking in the wrong spaces. They're executing really well against this zone.
There's the shot going up. It's gonna be the Thunder from Down Under. What a great score there. Yo with the disc. Put it one on for the board, bringing it back to a 2-point game.
And that's Queenstown represented right there. Coming up, traveling back up to Christchurch to represent the Deep South for this tournament.
Ellington through to Yo, the bobble, but then the quick turnover to give the disc back to Whitehead. Oh, he's going to hate watching this one back, that bobble, twice in a row.
Yeah. And it's also characteristic of a few things. End of the day, well, it is the first day of the tournament, and Honeys have been training, they've been drilling, and they're prepared for this. They're all in shape for it. End of the day still comes with it. It comes with a little fatigue for the players who've traveled, especially sleeping in a new bed. And fatigue can lead to these minor issues. Also, conditions, the winds can help affect that. Mental fatigue, physical fatigue. So we do expect to see a few more of those minor errors at the end of the day today. The disc goes up. Beautiful pull from Powick.
Huge chase from the Thunder from Down Under.
Love to see that energy.
We've got Jadeja right up front of that aggressive defense and able to generate the turn. Farhan Norzal, I believe, there on the disc.
Powick with the disc. A beautiful low release around. Disc with Sione Royal. Oh, and a laser back.
To Powick, pushing to far sideline for Jadeja.
What a great points! That was clean ultimate Frisbee. That was well drilled.
So nice.
Swinging to the open field, looking for those options, swinging back to the open side, and then a strike cut for the point. So let's see that one more time. Powick looking, finding Jadeja.
Great upline cut. He has the separation, jumps it in. Powick to put another on the board. We are now 3-4, so a great opportunity there from Thunder from Down Under.
How good, you know, Blair, everyone else who's hanging out and listening, you're never quite sure what to expect when you have, you know, teams. We've got a relatively new club. We've got an entirely new one-off tournament team here with Thunder from Down Under. And this is the exact type of match that we come to Nats to see. The neck-and-neck, high-level ultimate and contest between two teams, as they're both putting the skills out there. And I'm really excited that this is what's coming out for the first half. It's an exciting game.
Great touch just in bounds. Atira with the disc. And now we've got Ollie Judd putting a laser beam up, looking for Swanson, but overthrows the zone. Great chase there down by Max Pung.
And Judd, a really experienced player. She has background playing with Vic University, playing with Marvelous DC, and she's gotten involved a little bit in the development space as well. She's so agile. Her footwork is really great. And also her hand blocks, which you'll have to keep an eye out for in this game.
That's Hansen with the disc for the Thunder.
So you'll see the Honeys are forcing downwinds. They're forcing to the home side of the field. And that's because they're forcing people to throw down into the direction of the winds. That means that when they get to the far sideline, it's so much more difficult not only to throw upwind, but also to break the mark to do it. The disc goes up.
Just over the top of Swanson.
And he was such a strong target there. I think that was a good decision to make that throw.
Van der Beek as well, really stretching into that deep space as that second option. So even though Swanson wasn't able to get it, there was still a cutter. It's just unfortunate for them that it just pushed a little bit too far.
Down. So you see there's not as much space for them to move when they're trapped on the line like that. Thunder having no issues. They're swinging the disc to the high side, doing a really good job of spreading the field. The disc goes up.
Great positioning by Van der Beek as it starts to fade away over Hansen's head. Swanson's going to have it.
Launches it downfield, looking for Judd.
Not quite in bounds, but finds Burke instead for the close. What a point by Honeys, putting them at 5/3. What a fantastic point by Honeys.
And from two seasoned players like that, Judd to Burke, that connection, Burke recognizing, just providing that support, whether it was backup in case the disc went too high, in case it was a high throw to Judd and it maybe sailed past her, which is important in the wind. We've seen quite a bit of that. But also just setting up in case it's too short. In this case, it is. Just that support, even when you see the disc going downfield, Burke recognizing that it's important to be there to help your teammates, and ends up getting one more stat on the board, putting the points on the board for her team because of it. We've got Honeys now coming out on defense. We can see they're discussing on the line. They're going to be playing slightly upwind. So if they do throw a zone, I would say it would be important to recognize the deep space. We've seen big hucks coming up from Thunder. We know their ability to spread the field. So important for them to recognize. Alternatively, they could come down, match defense, or we're seeing that same kind of junk that we saw before.
Allen fires deep. There's definitely little contact, but it may not have had an impact on the play. So it looks like that turnover is going to stand. Some nice little inter-team communication. It's quite funny. Just the Honeys just taking that extra time to get everything sorted. They only want one thing, and it's discussing.
So again, the trap down wins doesn't phase the Honeys player as they center the disc easily. There's a large vertical stack that looks like they're running from. It's a really deep stack, which Garnier recognizes there as he makes the cut from the front. Normally, we don't like to make cuts from the front of the stack because it can cut off players downfield. You don't have visibility from downfield when you're cutting under. Nonetheless, cleans it up. We see a turnover.
Great work there by Aaron Whitehead, working with Kieran Allen and Larkin to push that far sideline. Defensive pressure from Sean Gardner. Manages to step inside. It's going to be enough when Aaron Whitehead tries to thread that laser beam right through the middle of the Honeys defense. It's not quite enough. Not enough height on it for Larkin to get a hand to it. So it's going to be Broadley with the disc to initiate one more time, supported by Leishman and Brown.
That was some incredible vision. It can be so difficult to see those open players downfield when you've got a range of players in front of you. To find that open space in the stack.
Leishman putting a shot up, looking for Amelia Mance. Huge amount of floats here. Honey Royal drops the hat. Mance has got it. It's Honeys 6 over the Thunder from down under 3.
What a great connection from Leishman to Mance. And I love the high fives as well. to Sione Royal, recognizing that work, that mahi on defense. Once again, Leishman unleashing. Drops the bomb easily into Mance's hands.
Just great work there by the Honeys.
Just props for the execution on that throw. The inside out, and I mean the speed that Mance has, the closing speed, chasing it down. She does an excellent job of reading the throw, but also it can be quite difficult in variable conditions. Really, also we do see it quite a bit in mixed ultimate. Difficulty in gauging the right throw to the right receiver. It can be a bit of a challenge, but that was, I mean, textbook perfect. Just recognizing the spacing, where to put it into space, and just swept down by Mance as well. A great connection.
Brown with the disc.
Goes for a roller. Oh, massive.
Bouncing right into the hands of Maruli de Barletta. Coming to Jadeja, but it's going to be Bowen with a touch through over Powick. Burke, Brown, Norzal. Puts one through to Adam. Has to lay out to get it. A laser shot to the opposite cross corner, looking for Ollie Judd. Overthrows big time to give the disc back to Powick. Powick for the Thunder from down under.
One more time. Really impressive, really, the power on that cross-field throw.
Huge shot.
It's really important also to show the defensive players the ability and depth of the throwers on your team. In variable conditions, it can be easy. Teams can often take the easier options, which I'm a really big fan of. Why make things difficult if you've got an easy option? At the same time, it's important for the defense to recognize that you do have those deeper looks. So sometimes options like that can just open up the field, open up space, and show that defense needs to really respect where the offenders are, really respect them as players, and not poach off or take up space where they might be meddling in other people's business.
It's just Powick and Whitehead really working down that far sideline now. Other players moving into position, creating opportunities. We've got hands waving in the end zone. Struggling to get free. Whitehead looks back. Ellington is a great bait cut. Powick somehow on a crossfield just 2 steps it in for the score. Great work by the Thunder from down under to bring it back within 2.
And one more time, we see, I think that swing could have been to the end zone. Whitehead nonetheless cleaned it up. They do say that if you have a chance to catch it in ultimate, you should, even if the disc wasn't meant for you. And great vision, just that chilly, collected vision to take a look around. It's really easy to get swept up in where the action is and get tunnel vision there. But great example of opening up the space, looking at where alternative options might be, and swinging across with that beautiful angled pass just to hop it in for the point.
That was a very, very pretty score. And honestly, it's not reflected on the scoreboard, but I think it earned a few style points as well. It's very textbook Aaron Whitehead, really. You know, from his early days in Massey and now looking at sort of MUA, the Manawatu Ultimate Association. It's really fantastic to see that the arsenal of throws, the bag that he's developed over his career, playing in Massey in an environment that's super supportive, that encourages that exploration. It creates opportunities for great ultimate, even at a higher, very competitive level.
Great movements in the downfield here. We're seeing some nice swinging from the handlers. With, looking downfield, there's a really saggy kind of offense that we're seeing, where they're loosely playing match on the handlers there, which kind of opens up the swing as an enticing option, but also somewhat covers downfield throws. It's really just kind of an annoyance in the back of your mind as a handler, which can be enough to force, as we saw just there, a turnover.
Alex Dewhurst to pick up and initiate, finding Jadeja, threading through.
We're seeing a lot of that, a lot of this cross-field kind of slicey looks. Just the vision of finding that open player in the deep space, and beautiful execution, hitting it right on.
And huge amounts of energy after that catch too, from Atira to bring it back to only 1 point. We have a game to 15, folks. We'll take a halftime break when the first team reaches 8 points, but until then, it's nothing but action. The wind is inconsistent. It's chopping and changing. It's up, it's down, it's cold, and then it's only slightly less cold. But these teams are keeping fired up. They've clearly warmed up really, really well. The engines are running hot. We're going to see what more they're capable of as this game continues.
We've got Honeys on the right side of the screen, as you can see there. Strong lineup as they're going to be looking to score a downwind point to come back firing in their own right.
It's going to be Fuller with the disc. It's going to roll.
And we're seeing a lot of these pulls. The upwind pull that rolls is really a strong option. A lot of them making their way to halfway. It can be tricky, especially when you're trying to come out on defense and you're considering a zone, because when you get close to your end zone space, it's common to switch to person defense to match defense, and that's because it's often easier to mark the person and be aware of where people are. We see that Thunder recognizes that by going in match. It's not strong enough, though, to shut down
one thing I really
sticky love that Honeys are bringing to the field.
I kind of wish you hadn't said it like that, Kelsey, but one thing that I really want to draw your attention to for the folks listening at home, that play was driven almost entirely by the female matching players. You had Judd, Broadley, and Vanderpeet back in that handler space. 3 of their female matching players. We're going to do the work. We're going to take the responsibility.
They're the worker bees out there.
There it is. No, I wouldn't say the worker bees. I'd call them queens.
Oh, but the worker bees are the ones who put in the mahi and create the hive. They are the essence of the hive. Having just finished an apiculture course a few months ago, I'm a big fan. Also, that's all that's on my mind when I'm talking about the sticky beauty of delicious honey. Worker bees, all of them, no doubt, working together. It's great to see the collaboration that they're putting in. Oftentimes, bees will do a dance to teach other bees where the honey is, where to go. And it's definitely an issue in the handler space or when you're cutting to dance around, to not clear out, and it's not something we're seeing with Honeys at all. Is they're creating space really well. They're on the same page for sure. If they are dancing, it's just in celebration of the points we're scoring as they come out on defense.
See Honey Royal working with Whitehead to spearhead the Thunder from down under offense. Larkin available as an option on that near sideline, but instead we're going to focus on cycling through those handlers. A little bit more mix. We're seeing a lot more of the male matching involvement through the handler space on that Thunder side. Just cannot stress enough how good it is to see genuine mixed ultimate being played. Jadeja with the disc now. Puts one up. Looking for Hansen. Gets her. My goodness, is it going to be in or is it going to be out? Looks like a call is being made. It's a little hard to tell from our perspective.
Potential contact, on the catch there. It's interesting because oftentimes these calls are made by the offensive player. Here, the defensive player arguing that Leishman arguing that he had a play that was on the disc that was taken away. Looks like that's retracted and they're calling it a point. I also want to emphasize the importance of calling a foul and acknowledging that. It's I think really spirited to make that call if you think something happens, to stop the game and give space for discussion, and really valuable also to recognize if that may have been made in error and retract it. So there, again, in essence, just giving space to have that conversation with the other player and just to discuss what happens and if it may have been a violation of the rules. In this case, it looks like it wasn't. Let's see it one more time.
What a grab. I mean, we said it's what happens. You just can't leave Hansen alone in the deep space. It's where she does her best work, and it's going to bring it 6-7 by the looks of things. Honey's up by 1 after that great score. Now our halftime break will be happening at 8, and so it's only a couple of points away at the most. So we are about to see what happens when Thunder from down under send one deep to come out on defense. It's Whitehead with the pull.
Also, shout out to the fans. It looks like we've got some people watching from Wellington, some Wellington supporters. Shout out to them, as well as people across, of course, the country who may be supporting Thunder from down under, representing really the entirety of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Whitehead with the disc.
In fact, it's cold enough that we've seen Owen Ellington put something on underneath his kit on the Thunder defense. But it's really early movement. Bowen, Mance, and Liddell in that upfield space. Nice and aggressive. A lot of these cuts that we're seeing from the younger players tend to be a lot tighter. They typically attack these narrower windows. It's definitely going to be a turnover there. Yo ducking to try and get away with it.
And those smaller cuts, that smaller movement can be really beneficial, especially when it's well drilled, when you're on the same page. It can be really, really challenging to respond defensively when the offense just won't stop. They're moving the disc before you can even set up the mark. However, it's still a bit too fast, I feel. It's not quite as in sync. Nonetheless, I mean, give it a season, give it half a season, and I feel like Honeys will have it dialed. It's a really exciting skill to be developing, and seeing these players as they're picking up and developing that. It will be formidable and challenging to shut down, as it already is here, but just kind of growing and becoming more difficult as they continue to improve.
Absolutely. And I think one of those things that, yes, while it is a lot harder to defend, it's just you don't have the opportunity to lead. You really have to know your receiver's speed in order to hit those breadbasket throws with such tight windows. And we're seeing some nice movement, but a little bit more patience from Thunder from Down Under. One of the things that we noticed from the team whose uniform they're wearing.
A lot of poaching in the end zone. I see a lot of open players, and I think that just due to the intensity of the cup around the disc and around the throwers, it's they're struggling. There we go. Into the safe hands of Yo. A few players swinging wide, really stretching the field wide there. And as I mentioned, sorry to interrupt you there, it can be so difficult to see that when you're a handler, when you have the disc, and there's 4 defensive players around you, to look up and especially with the wind at your back.
You just see a wall.
You see a wall, but really great patience there nonetheless, with Thunder racking up another point. And a great catch by you.
And bringing it to a tied game. We have what we refer to in the Ultimate community as a galaxy point. The implication being that it's a smaller version of Universe Point, which is what we call double game point, or when teams are tied and the last point scored is going to win the game. Here, we've said a couple times that we're going to take a halftime break when the first team reaches 8. And so the next point, regardless of who scores it, is going to send us into the second half. So it's a huge opportunity for the teams who want to score. Both teams benefit from scoring here, not just in terms of the 1-point lead, but also if you score the 1-point lead and then you come out on offense, you're at a huge advantage. If you score that 1-point lead and you come out on defense, you've got at least a little bit of a buffer to keep the game tied. We're going to see Judd and Van der Peet again in that offensive handler set, working with Brown.
So an interesting also matchup we're seeing here.
Jadeja managing to get the turn for the Thunder from Down Under.
And Thunder from Down Under right on their end zone line, knocking at the front door.
Powick was looking over to Atira on the far side as a reset option, urging her to take some yards, puts a shot up too high over Peters. It's going to be a turn to give Honeys an opportunity to swing back the other way.
It's one thing I've really been impressed about, Blair, is over the course of this game thus far, we've seen so many. This is something that all teams at every single level struggle with, and the only way around it is training and drilling. But both teams have done such a good job on the end zone line of converting those into points. That's one of the few examples, I think, thus far of a shot being fired and it going wide. There's been such strong connection in the end zone, which is really great. Again, that's something you commonly see with really drilled teams who set up end zone plays and play that end zone play. Nonetheless, we've got Honeys on offense. They've got a long way to work it upfield. And that inside-out throw, that inside-out forehand catches the winds and floats up a bit too high.
And so Thunder from Down Under have yet another opportunity. Peters to pick up and initiate, marked by Norzal on the near sideline. Only meters away from their end zone. He's calling for an initiation strike cut, and Jadeja's going to come down with it to take the point and the half. Thunder from Down Under are on the rise as we go 8-7, concluding the first half of the final game of our stream coverage for the first day of the 2023 New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships at Bob Deans Field in Ōtautahi, Christchurch. What a fantastic first half of the game. My name is Blair Monroe.
I'm Kelsey Bielik.
And we will be back for the second half very shortly. And welcome back, everyone, to the second half of the final match of the first day of stream coverage for the 2023 New Zealand Ultimate Championships. My name, as always, is Blair Munro.
And I'm still Kelsey Bielik.
Who else would you be, and who else would I want in the booth next to me?
Shucks.
As the Thunder from Down Under are about to come out on defense, having just cracked away and taken half. Honeys were up by a few in the early stages of the game, but it's starting to fade in the other direction. We'll see what changes the side from Wellington can make, if anything, to keep them in this game.
We've got Fuller with the pull, going again for the classic roller in these windy conditions, and it rolls out on the high side.
And once again, we have the Honeys lady handler set. Vanderpeet, Liddell, and Broadley. Huge bid by Yo. He was baiting that over the top. Manages to come away with it.
Put enough pressure on for the turnover there. Also a cheeky little upside throw just to start off the second half. Yo with the disc in hand. And a saggy, again, the classic saggy defense from Honeys, where Judd, we can see on this side, she's just hanging off of that close match. Really kind of taking away some options downfield, helping out with that downfield defense just a little bit.
Ellington threading one through to Siahani Royal, bouncing off to Whitehead, who tries to connect with Yo and just isn't able to get him on the phone. The disc is going to go back to the Honeys. It's Broadly to initiate with Vanderpeet in support. Putting a long shot up, looking for Judd. Can she run down Owen Ellington? No, she can't. It's all right. He's only twice her height.
Only?
Putting one through to Fuller on the near sideline, right in front of your camera. Drops one back to Owen Ellington as the zone, headed by Mance, closes the jaws. Bowen and Brown let one slip around to Fuller. It's high. Touchdown by Broadley.
Honeys with another chance on offense.
Swings wide to Mance.
And we're seeing a person defense. Interestingly, downfield, it's a bit of a vague space, which makes sense that they're focusing on the handlers. A sky ball, and it looks like Brown just jumped a bit too high, and too high for the disc there. We're seeing a lot of turnovers, again, potentially a result of a long days of hard work or windy conditions.
So intercepted once again by the Thunder from Down Under. A quick offload to find Whitehead right in front of the zone. A touch, a second touch, and it's the ground that pulls it from his hands. Yo with a little fist slam into the ground. That little second giving Bowen just enough time to send it out of bounds to the point where it's not going to come back in, which means the disc will be returned to the field of play where it first crossed those external boundary lines.
And we see Bowen with hands on his face as he's not pleased with the execution of that throw. I think he had very different results in mind. No doubt a beautiful outside and snaking past the defender straight into Judd's hands. Yeah, it looked like defense was in position, but because it was out of bounds, as Blair just said, disc coming up to where it would have gone out of bounds.
Visualization is only going to take you so far. And now it's Owen Ellington looking for an early reset to Whitehead. Slips one through to Yo and a quick 1-2. Continuing to put it through. It's Siahani Royal right on the doorstep. They're back where they were. Puts it through.
You may have heard her commentating. She's a multi-trick pony on the field as well. High disc, upwind, snaky
Big
route.
fade, managed to pull it down. You've got to be kidding. What a grab. My Godfather. Such a great play.
You would want her on your team in a game of flutter guts. What a catch.
That's Victoria King by the looks who managed to pull that one down.
That's right, Victoria King. Beautiful catch, and also such. I
It's
would say
only
poise
triple coverage.
in just sticking with it.
You can see on her face there the not surprise, the not even astonishment. There's definitely a sense of just shock and adrenaline that being the shortest person in a four-person pile-up and coming down with the disc.
I think appreciation.
That's the one I'm looking for.
I think Victoria King is a strong downfielder. Could have could have snaked it down easier, but knowing that she probably made life, just bobbled it around, making it a little bit more difficult. But no, she had it at the end of the day. Just the smile, knowing that I think it's a lot similar in a lot of ways, as I was saying in previous matches to Kelly Carter. When there's a challenge presented to her, she always puts a smile on her face. You're seeing the same thing from Victoria King, where it's she has the solution. Just takes a moment to unlock it.
Maruli de Barletta with a great pull, but it's going to be Mance, Judd, and Swanson with the disc, pushing towards the far sideline. Touching off the hands of Judd, and Allen in a good position to secure it. He's going to pick up and initiate. He loves to shoot it long.
So we've got person match defense from Honeys here. Oh, and some
great work by Peters. Oh my goodness, managed to slip past 2 defenders. And a real nice high touch throw for Kieran Allen going crossfield for Powick for the score.
What a receiver.
Thunder from down under, up by 3.
I never saw the lightning. It was too fast. Yeah, beautiful crossfield look. We've seen that quite a bit. Great to see that convert into a point. When you have an open receiver like that, and when you have the ability to put it out into space like that, such a great decision, a great point. One thing that I would like to see more of, though, potentially this point, maybe we'll have to wait for Thunder to play defense on another downwind. They played a really interesting arrowhead zone where they had one assassin taking away the dump or the swing, the reset handler, and it was really effective in supporting the turnover that led to this point. I'd like to see more of it because it was a really, I think, strategic setup, and it would be cool to break down just exactly how they set that up, how they're challenging the throws, and yeah, how it's successful. Or hopefully seeing Honeys also unlock that and break it down and punch their way through it as well. Regardless, we've got Thunder coming out on defense again. Maybe they'll throw that same zone. Maybe they'll go match. Let's find out. Whitehead with the pull.
Just an absolute dynamo. Bobbles a little in the wind. Going to be picked up by Brown early. Van Peters, a quick recentering option supported by Broadley. She looks to drop yards and then try and push upfield. Manages to get around the Thunder defense. A high release flick. Touched by Fuller, but it's not going to be enough to stop Leishman getting low.
And there have been a few games today where we've noted catch your Ds. I think a prime example there as well. A few unfortunate points, which resulted in Ds that were not caught. Launching deep. What vision. Bowen, I think, remembering that huck he put up a few points ago that didn't result, and really, trying to make amends there. I think that point was more than enough.
We'll see it one more time.
Nice, calm, chilly demeanor with the disc. The handlers are just finding that open space. Really just great positioning with that throw. It's a high release pop backhand, which has a bit of power behind it, enough to cape it down, snake it downfield, and just really perfectly positioned into the space of the receiver despite the 2 threats that are around.
Great. Well, speaking of those 2 threats, great work by Alex Dewhurst in that deep space. Clearly saw the direction that the play was coming and looked to close in, nearly managing to get a play. Not quite enough, but still a great attempt. It'll be good to see how those reactions and reflexes tend to sharpen up over the course of a tournament. If he can really find the zone, might be able to start making some more impressive plays.
And we've got ULTI.TV camera crew on TV. Leishman unleashing downfield with Thunder at the helm with another opportunity on offense.
Dewhurst, a quick reset to Whitehead as Mance, Judd, and Broadley park up on the defense. That's Broadley doing what she does. You can't spell Broadley without a D. It's going to be a Honeys offense now as we've got Swanson putting a nice wide forehand to Broadley. Leishman is an option. Threads a laser beam through. What a great find.
Just really great connection, really great flow on that offensive point there. It looked like Thunder, it was difficult for them to find position once they were out of it. All the defense just really racing to catch up. We can see how much open space each of these players have. What
just for fun as well. I just want to see this a second time. Hopefully, it's a nice little flourish that Norzal did right at the end of that score. Probably took him more time to practice that than it did his forehand. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see it again. Unfortunately not. That's all right. It's worth rewinding for, I promise. Nice little detail in there.
Well, that sounds like a cool trick there. I definitely worked on my forehand for a very long time, for years. So anytime you've got a fun trick to pull out on the fields that you've worked harder than for your forehand, definitely want to show for the cameras on the streamed game. Nonetheless, once the camera catches up, we've got the disc being picked up by Thunder downfield, and Honey's off to the races.
It was a great chase by Swanson to get in front of Ellington to shut down that first pass. In fact, you've mentioned this already in this game, Kelsey. The importance of that aggressive chase after pull. It's not enough to get the disc where you want it. It's about stopping that first pass. Even a great handler like Kieran Allen to be essentially frustrated for a few seconds at the start of the point just because those options are being shut off by an aggressive chase is really, really good to see. And it's what Honeys need to do to keep them in this game. They've managed to bring it back to 1 point deficit. It's still theirs to win if they work for it. We've got Powick and Allen working hard now.
A lot of fakes as they're just trying to move the defenders. Allen, and now we've got Ellington looking wide to Fuller. A lot of shoulder fakes, a lot of patience, a lot of disc fakes before launching downfield. Look at that separation.
For Atira, but she's not in the bounds. Wants to hit Powick, can't do it. Siahani Royal just manages to get it behind Judd. And then fires a cannon through to Atira for the score.
And you know that when you're the deep in space like that, and you're really caught out of position. I mean, props to Allen for recognizing that with the disc. He saw the spacing, saw the distance, and it can be quite dangerous, definitely, to put up the disc just expecting that, you know, the deep, they're here one more time, the deep will catch up. Fortunately, he puts a bit of power behind it. It's a laser throw. Sione Royal stepping out wide to connect to that point. Nonetheless, really great vision and great power behind the throw. Great spacing, really punishing deep look for the deep. When it's your one job, you can be so pivotal in making the space and being in a critical space to shut down the deep. But also, if you're out of space, you're not you know, with the people who are behind you. It's situations like this that can really punish that. The score is now 11 to Thunder Down Under, 9 to Honeys.
And Honeys to come out on offense now. Now, I mean, we've seen it, and you've said it. When you're looking at that zone defense, particularly being in that deep space, and there can often be that little bit of a scramble, especially after a quick turn. Oh, a slide. What a great play by Huang to just touch the disc, I guess, and get involved. Bowen has it now, immediately turfs. He'll be kicking himself. It came out a little bit low. Just the angle of that disc was really low and down. Now it's Peters in Whitehead hoping to widen that margin up. He puts a shot up.
Oh, that's a laser. It makes its way up and drops.
Oh, just fell short of where Hansen was.
And those are so tricky to read. We saw, I mean, she was giving space. Fuller saw the disc. It was a laser. It was coming out hot, but then the wind just dropped. It died for a second. And she throws her body out, lays to the ground to pick it up, as we just see here again, but can't clean it up. A lot of shoulder fakes trying to move the mark.
Bowen finds Adam near sideline, putting it through to Zamiri. Bowen with a big shot. He's well overthrown, but can someone chase it down? No. Only Aaron. It was a gorgeous throw. I think, again, we've said it before a few times today. Defense, you need to go early, and what happens when you do? You cause the offense to mistime their jumps, and when you do that, they're often in a bad position for a second bid. Pang with the disc, threads it through to Whitehead. He's in power position, puts one
Launching
up,
it.
looking for King. It fades. Oh, just caught on the wrong side of the disc, and the spin carried it out of her hands.
She was no doubt expecting another game of Flutterguts to bobble it a few times, but it just made its way directly to the ground.
Now, Mance manages to put one across to Bowen, but I think he might be in his own head after some of the little errors that he's made. They're starting to stack up.
And that's one thing, you know, experience really comes into play. Also, that's such a mental game. What a great point. What a great point into the safe hands of number 35.
Peters.
Thank you.
Peters for the Thunder Down Under to bring it to 12-9. And again, I think that was just a high release, wrong side backhand there for that throw. And managed to get it. He put it up, trusted the fact that I think Whitehead definitely recognized the mismatch there on offense and defense, the height difference. If I just put it up over the top, I know he'll get it into position because he's going to have the separation from the speed and he's got the reach. And he happened to be right. And so now Thunder from down under, 3 points away from a victory in a game to 15. And yet not an insurmountable obstacle for the Honeys to claw back.
And I want to just give another quick shout out. One thing that I really like to see from the Honeys right now is these little mistakes that we're seeing. As you just mentioned, Bowen has had a few misfires. He's taken a few opportunities that haven't resulted. And all the power to him. It's really important to be making those shots, but also we can all, every single player has had those moments when you start you get on a roll of misfiring, of poor execution, and it's your own mental space, and it's such a tough thing that every player's had to grapple with, where we all need different things. Sometimes it's teammates firing us up, sometimes it's time on the sideline, sometimes it's just trusting yourself and still firing, and you get it right. Yeah, so it's one thing that these players know have to learn that I'd like to see them generating over the course of this game, and hopefully we will see.
Judd with a big put, looking for Norzal. Powick can't get it, and it's going to be a score for the Honeys. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned that, Kelsey. I was going to say, I'm very much, I know I've played in tournaments where I've had a few just mistimed or poorly executed throws, and it's been sort of back-to-back on a couple of points or back-to-back on the same point, and just as soon as we score, I'm going to take a couple points off and really get myself centered. But again, it's one of those things where you learn from experience, you learn from making those mistakes what you need to dial back in, and so it's going to be interesting to see, particularly as we have the youth of Ultimate getting better representation in our Division 1 tournament. We're seeing a lot more of those youth players pushing their way into the more competitive stages, how they develop that expertise, where they're going to go. Only they know where their ceilings are.
And oftentimes ceilings can change. Also, really exciting. I think Honeys really needed that. I'm stoked about that point that they just scored. Oftentimes it's a big play by a teammate. When a teammate does something that's really, really impressive, you can get so much energy and so much stoke from that. So the players that are on the line, the whole team picking themselves off of that beautiful point, that assist by Judd, great catch in the end zone, to come out on this defensive point. I know that can be a huge mental reset for an entire team as well.
It's a good pull as the offense, the Thunder from down under, sort of lost it in the air. It gave the Honeys defense an opportunity to really get set. Maruli Debaleta having to look back for Whitehead. Definitely a zone offense as we're seeing Hazel Broadley switch assignments. Jadeja with the disc now working with Dewhurst. Jadeja again. A 2-3-2, I think, by the looks. Got Swanson on that near side wing.
Oh, what a run through D.
Great run through.
Oh, he's hungry for more. He's looking deep for that point as well.
Swanson, Mance, Leishman working with Amelia Mance. She's a great option, but he instead fires the long one. What a read by Swanson, and it's called a point. Honeys back in by 1.
It looks like they're reconsidering that, much like the recent rugby game between the All Blacks and South Africa. On to better subjects. Ultimate Frisbee, looks like they're reassessing that points.
Now, it's an interesting thing where a player makes the call that a point was in. Would put him in borderline. Looks like they are going to call it as a point.
And a great throw. I was a bit concerned. You see the power we've seen over the course of the game, and it's something that Thunder really has to look out for. Is the power behind Leishman's forehands. You see him wind up. We haven't seen him throw very many fakes. We've just seen beautiful throws.
When you've got throws that wide open, do you really need to fake?
No, it can potentially give defense space to question whether or not you're going to release it or go for a strong backhand or another throw. At the same time, really great to see him winding up, and it's always going to be an exciting shot when he puts it out. So awesome to see that reeled in, just towing the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
Another points on the board for Honeys.
Now, just as a little side note, and it's something that I think we have a great advantage being or spending a lot of time in the commentary booth as we watch players. Their tells start to become a lot more apparent. You get to see these players from sort of all angles as opposed to just facing them down. You start learning what their fakes look like, what their little tells, and all those little details and nuances to their throws and when they're not going to throw things. It's really great to see and kind of get an impression for what's going to happen before it does. Whitehead trying on a give and go towards Powick on the far sideline, but it's going to be Mance to pick up. Finds Van de Peet. Swanson, Burke, wide open near side. There's an option. He managed to get a shoulder in front, but Whitehead was just close enough. Leishman was there.
Swanson looking for the option, swinging back to Burke. Looking for the strike. Can he reel it in?
Oh, he got a hand to it.
Looks like he missed a step even before he laid out. And then when he did, he missed another one. Just cleats were not on his side. Maybe it was the grass.
Well, that's why we practice our curvilinear sprints. You've got to be able to create that change in direction. It's Larkin to Jadeja. Marked by Judd.
And really interesting when you look at the spacing of white players on the field. There's so many in the front of the field around here. Meanwhile, we've got 2 in the deep space. I think this is really smart spacing by Honeys and really smart defense. They're putting so much pressure on those quick throws that Thunder is putting out, but also really respecting that a lot of their strong looks have been hucks, resulting in a turnover.
Nice pressure. Leishman tries to put the backhand up, decides to go forehand side instead to Burke. Overthrows Mance on the reset. Probably could have been a little bit more patient and just let that one float out, let her run onto it. I think, again, with that wind, though, that's what you want. You want those breadbasket throws because they feel a lot more secure. The longer a disc is in the air, the longer the time the wind has to get a play or the longer time the defense has to close. It's a hard balance to make as Siahani gets the Siahani Royal gets the disc on the near sideline, working with Jadeja Larkin as an option. Puts a nice little floaty backhand up over the top for Powick. Big fake to get a bite out of Swanson. Threads through to Atira.
That's exactly what the zone is forcing. They're forcing those throws. So great to see Thunder recognizing that open opportunity and throwing to that open player, executing exactly how they need to get the disc where it needs to be.
Powick has it right on the doorstep.
Judd on the mark. We're seeing a high pop backhand over the top of everyone, but it goes a bit too far, and it's out of bounds.
And so possession is going to go back to Honeys, hoping to bring it back to a tied game. Our scoreboard just needs a little bit of updating on your screen. It is, in fact, 11-12. Mance getting a great cut under. Quick bounce off Nozal to find Van de Peet advancing the disc to Burke. Leishman taking a number of steps to close that one out, but it's going to be Judd to bring it down in the end zone to tie the game. The score is now 12-12.
What a backhand. And that was more of a mid-range throw, but Honeys is really, they're as a team really doing well off of those longer puts to score the points. Which I have no issue with. Definitely fewer of those walking it into the end zone. We saw a lot more of that at the beginning of the game. I know, Blair, you commented on the short passes, a lot of reliance on knowing exactly where the player was, especially with the quick movements. And they've really opened up their game a lot, which is working well for them right now and really cool to see. Look at that low release backhand, inside out, crossing the field, snaking between 2 defenders. That's the mark and the open side defender downfield. And we have, with mixed ultimate, the gender matches now for female matching players. Great throw with the conditions, making just over halfway into the defending half of the field broadly with the great pull there.
Fuller supported by Allen against the Honeys zone. Maruli de Baleta as an option. Allen going over the top to find Peters as the zone looks to close things up. Allen, far sideline.
And really doing well, I think. Thunder's doing well with over-the-top pop passes, slicing through the zone. We've seen a lot of that. Whitehead definitely enjoying those slicey passes, finding the gaps. Unfortunately, not slicey enough there, but over the top as well. And they can't quite convert that defense to just where they need to be, giving Honeys another chance.
Yeah, Mance to pick up, finding Zamiri. Slight overthrow and a great attempt by Brown. It's not going to be enough. Allen, he sees the option. He puts the shot up, looking for Peters, finds him in the end zone. The game has just gone 13-12 in favor of Thunder Down Under.
High fives we're seeing all around as Thunder Down Under is looking to close it out. There's only a few points left for Honeys to really get on the train, put those points down on the board.
So only 2 points away from a Down Under victory. They're going to come out on defense. Honeys with an opportunity to tie the game. We have 18 minutes left on the clock. Poek with a nice long low rip to the far sideline, touching down about halfway through the Honeys defensive zone. Or defensive half. Swanson just answers with a big rip.
What a way to start. Oh, and too soon. It's tragic.
Also looks like it was going to outrun the zone anyway, so maybe overthrown with that wind at his back.
Overthrown. I think also he was there. It looks like it was just another weed trip where he, he just missed a step and he stayed on his feet but couldn't reel it in. All good. We've got Thunder with the disc now on the end zone line, swinging to the middle. Sione Royal.
To Ellington again. Comes wide, finds Poek.
And yeah, this defense right now that Honeys are throwing really slowing down a lot of the swings that we've seen Thunder putting up. We saw a lot of faster movement from them in the beginning. An over-the-top throw sees its way to the ground.
Swanson getting involved there. That 2-3-2 zone that we're seeing a lot more of. Conservation of greatness on full display as Poek is going to give Ellington another opportunity. Puts one low, finds the hands.
A lot of measured slow throws here, really finding the open players and intentionally putting the throw where it needs to be for a safe catch or cleaning it up into the bread basket. We're seeing really strong decision making. Look as these handlers are trying to find the open player, and props to Honey's zone for really slowing down the tempo.
I think after Taranaki Thunder, after their performance in the final at last week's Division 2 Mixed Ultimate Championships and seeing a lot of their players come through to pick up the Thunder Down Under, I think prioritizing decision-making is probably a huge part of their game plan. Mance puts a nice forehand outside into the far sideline for Wong. And that's Swanson with a nice little chippy dad backhand with a lot of edge on it through to Ollie Judd to tie the game.
Great catch by Ollie Judd, and I love that. Yeah, the chippy dad backhand, the forces forehand, but sneaks the backhand out nonetheless. Just with a bit of touch on it, bit of a pop pass. Let's see that again. Looking to the high side of the field. Goes for the around, and there we go. Judd finding her way into the open space. with just enough separation.
The game is tied. We're almost, all but guaranteed, a race to 15 at this point. Unless the next couple of points, there's a lot of wind, a lot of aggressive defensive pressure that's going to drag them out.
We've got Thunder with the wind at their backs now, responding to Honeys, who will be coming out on defense. An interesting space to be playing defense. Of course, when the team has the wind at their backs, they have a lot more opportunities to put big looks. Zones can nonetheless still be really helpful, especially if you do respect that deep space. We did see Honeys before with 2 deep players back. So as long as they're respecting that, they are coming out in a zone. So we'll see how Thunder responds.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got the wind at your back and you're kind of expecting, hey, we're going to let them, quite often you can also ease up on the mark a little bit. You can bait some of those hucks, really let them have that foresight or backhand side, whichever one you're looking to give them. Invite them to throw those big shots and trust in your deepest players.
And unfortunately, I mean, zones also increase the number of passes teams are making. And as I've mentioned, the more times you're touching a disc, the more times you're likely to fail. It just increases. And just make a little mistake. Honey's off to the races.
Overthrown, no hesitation. Allen not needing to touch that one to secure it, but you never know.
You never know.
With the height underneath that disc, the wind might have picked up and pushed it back in bounds, which would have been a heck of a way to score, but it's going to be Thunder from down under, marked by Broadley. Looks back to Whitehead. Pushing back into their defensive zone, which is exactly what they want.
Rare that we've seen the disc from this end zone really pushed back so far into this end zone today. I think that may have been one of the first times, just because there's been such a strong wind. But Thunder having no issue pushing it out, making safe swings.
Whitehead and Allen puts the shot up, looking for Jadeja. He can chase it, but not if Aiden Brown is there. What a great aggressive run through there. Now we're going to see what happens. Are the Thunder from Down Under going to apply a zone of their own, or are they going to stick to a match defense?
We've got loud commentary from the sideline as Sione Royale supports her team. It can be really beneficial when you're on defense just to know where the dangerous players are, know where you're marking, where the space is, and yeah, where the thrower might be looking if you're hot, so to speak, as we say in Ultimate Frisbee. That pressure, we see that result in a turnover. Thunder's got another chance. Whitehead with the disc in hands, looking to mark another one on the board.
Allen with a great little sneaky cut, weaving through a great, nice lot of edge coming down, but looks like it was definitely contact there.
The potential injury.
Jadeja coming down, looking like he may have been body checked just a tiny little bit, but looks like no call's going to be made. So possession will go back to the Honeys.
Difficult place to be as a handler, especially with such a strong sideline force by Yo. Oh, and a nice inside-out backhand, finding that open player. Back to Gardner, who's looking to launch it deep just to clear that space. Can they swing it up to the high side?
Mance so shifty, getting huge movement from the defense to widen the field. Broadly pops one around to Norzal. Quick chip back across to Mance. More fakes. Jadeja having to be active. Manages to find Swanson as a reset. The wind finally stilling the air, warming just a little bit. It's going to invite some of those deep shots, but Kieran Allen is in there trying to shut them down.
Also tough when you have so many players around the disc in the midfield. Thunder's got a really saggy zone there. That is their, yeah, they're just off of the players, making deep options a little bit more intimidating to put up.
Burke manages to get one around Larkin to Gardner. Back is an option, but it's starting to fade back, but Broadly takes it to skies to get it in hands anyway. Works with Brown on a nice lateral crossfield marked by Larkin. Mance comes all the way back to provide a safe option. Swings across to Gardner, but can't do it.
Oh, such nice movement from Honeys there. But also, yep, as is expected in the zone, you're going to see those little mistakes creeping in.
Allen cutting all the way back through that zone as it collapses around him. Maruli de Baleta Drops one back to Whitehead. Big fakes to shift it.
With a
It's
lefty
Jadeja.
backhand over the top. I love that, especially in the wind. Whitehead commanding the field.
Straight to the hands of Swanson. Runs it to the front of the end zone. Quick bounce through Broadley and Brown.
And a long point playing out here. We're seeing a lot of changes in possession. A lot of turnovers. A lot of zone with the veteran call of a timeout. And we're seeing players dropping to the ground. Garnier. Players looks like they're happy about that call. And I think they're talking about what the stall will be when it comes back. Really, yeah, a veteran move, as I just said. It was a long point that was playing out, especially towards the end of the day. Players might need a break just to reset. How can we not turn this disc over? So yeah, no doubt, talking about that offensive defensive strategy and how to convert the next few points to close it out in this game to 15.
Each team only needs 2 to walk away with a win to end their first day, the 2023 New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships. We will be back with you very shortly with the conclusion of this very thrilling match.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
And so both teams still in the huddle. Honeys to have possession. Swanson on the disc to initiate once play comes back. Thunder from Down Under will be able to establish their defensive structure once the offensive side have set up. It is only a 3-point game maximum. We are playing first to 2 at this point.
No doubt. It's an exciting matchup at this stage, and really interesting for Honeys to consider what's set up. I assume at this stage they're probably going to be setting up their classic zone offense, 3, maybe 4 handlers back, and then the rest downfield. I would be expecting Thunder to continue with the zone that they've been playing, which has been really effective, both zones. Defense on both sides has been really solid throughout this game, leading to long points such as this one, when defense is just shutting down options.
Yeah.
So yeah, setting up, I think really that timeout was just giving both teams a break to have a breather, drink some water, focus in on, again, controlling the controllables. You can't control the other team. You can't control the wind. You can't control if the sun is in your eyes, but you can control what decisions you're making, how you're playing, what options you're looking for, conserving the greatness, conservation of greatness, conserving the disc, and ownership, possession of it. So yeah, we're seeing a vertical stack downfield, as well as Thunder setting up in a zone. In this case, looks like a bit of a clam, shutting that down.
Burke to make that initiating cut for Swanson. The aggressive Thunder pressure. It's going to send us right towards the near sideline for Aiden Brown. Big fake from Mance.
Great high side throw. So much pressure on that downwind side, and great vision and execution to find that upwind throw, especially with such precision. Burke with the disc. Throwing an inside-out forehand. Again, Honey's really doing a great job at swinging across to the high side of the field. Skipping out on that middle handler, just swinging the entire way. The disc goes up, and it goes out of bounds.
Yeah. There was a lot of low angle on that throw when it went up from Swanson. Again, I mean, we've talked a bit, and I think it's kind of going to sort of ring in my ears a little bit. There's that thought of, that's definitely not the throw they thought they were going to throw. But that definitely, you could see from the shape of his body, from the structure of the disc and the angle, he was intending that to arc back in towards the midfield for Nozal.
And you know, if it were beautiful, perfect conditions, if it were completely calm, it would be a completely different game. We'd be seeing different defensive options and different strengths being played. This is a great example of the diversity of Ultimate, and especially in the wind, and what how the game is played and what strategy comes out given the variable conditions. Also interesting, we're seeing teams from other fields who finish up their games coming over to watch this one, adding extra pressure and excitement to those on the field with additional fans on the sidelines.
Allen to Jadeja to Whitehead. Whitehead's putting it up. Swanson's underneath it. So is Allen.
What a
Allen's
read.
got it, and it's a point. 1 away from a Thunder from Down Under victory. Honeys, 2 points.
I'm going to chime in with my usual health and safety check-in for everyone who's tuning in. This game is getting tight. I'd like to invite everyone to take a deep breath, take a sip of water, and scooch a little bit farther back on your seats. I know they talk about this in the Air New Zealand Qantas flight videos. Important to sit back, lean back, put your hands on your knees, and just enjoy the rest of the game. But what a game it is. We'll see what it has yet in store for us.
Speaking of Air New Zealand safety briefings, your co-pilot Kelsey and I have turned on the seatbelt signs. We do not want you going anywhere for the last points of this game. There are only 2 left to play at most.
We are expecting a lot of turbulence as well for the rest of the match. As more people are joining on the sidelines and tensions are picking up. 14-13, game to 15. Will Thunder from Down Under take it away? And this the last game of day 1 of the New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships, or will Honeys scrape back? The pull goes up from Fuller.
And there's a nice bit of roll.
Judd to pick up, finding Vanderpeet.
Powick close on the mark there. Nearly getting a touch by Peters. It's going to be enough to push it from the hands of Puteri. This could be it, folks.
And we're seeing match defense downfield. A lot of movement. I really enjoyed the initiating cuts, but the disc found its way to the ground in a way no one could clean up. Honeys off to the races.
Judd.
Mance with the disc.
Yeah, Judd to Mance. Pushed down towards the near sideline by Siahani Royal. Nice and aggressive. Leishman toes it in. Big hammer goes up for Zamiri and the score. We have universe point.
I love that hammer.
I think that's the first hammer you've seen all day that you've liked.
Good hammer. Friends, Funo, and Frisbee players, I haven't been the biggest fan of hammers on the season today. They've been a bit iffy, but that was so open. It's so clean. You see that cross field. There's 2 players that are open. Leishman makes the decision, unleashes. It's a safe, controlled hammer. That's the perfect time to throw them. And I love that point. I'm going to give that additional style points on the board.
Well, I mean, that's the peril, right? Like, Honeys, they're a new club. They've designed their kit. I don't see any tool belts in sight. What else are you supposed to do but drop the hammer?
Drop the hammer. Potentially, given that upside down throws, scoobers, hammers can be a bit more difficult to catch. As they tend to go higher, they can be difficult to sometimes put as much touch on them as is needed within the wind. So potentially a bit of an iffy option, but it was just great execution, great open players, and safe hands as well, making that less of an iffy option.
Yeah, and as we come into the final point of the game, Judd with the disc to pull for a female matching majority. Some of the Thunder from Down Under players, they'll be having flashbacks as to last week's Division 2 final, which also came down to a nail-biter of a finish.
And before Blair gives us away what happens, you guys will have to watch it for yourselves. We'll focus back to this game. Another nail-biter of a finish with Thunder from Down Under, wind at their backs, in possession of the disc, trying to convert this into a point and cinch the game.
Powick and Peters doing some great 1-2 give-go work with Maruli de Baleta. Not overthrowing Whitehead, who manages to take a knee to get it. It's Powick back to Whitehead, working around the zone, spearheaded by Mance, Burke, and Mance. It's Peters. He's looking real deep. He puts the scuba up and over for Whitehead.
Whitehead really quarterbacking the team right now. He's bringing a lot of energy every other throw. I really enjoy that everyone's making safe
and
decisions.
Mance,
it's a turnover.
The curse of the commentator speaking too soon. This is it. Sean Gardner pops it through to Leishman. Is he going to put it up? He is. He's looking for Mance. She's not quite in the zone yet, but a travel was called.
One thing I wanted to...
the heartbreak as they try and score a point. Just heads up, Richard caught him in the back of the foot, one of our great supporters. A huge help here at the field, trying to do some behind-the-scenes filming as we reset the disc after that travel call.
And one thing, as we're watching the replay, I wanted to commentate on is the energy that we saw that Gardner and Leishman bring immediately to that turnover. There was a lot of calm, collected control that Thunder was bringing before they made that turnover. They're really intentionally making those passes. But as soon as Honeys got the disc, they were off to the races. They just stepped it up a notch. And a beautiful throw. You at home can be the ones to decide. Was it a travel?
And so we're just getting a little bit of extra perspective, trying to understand what Whitehead's argument for the travel call was. Ordinarily, it wouldn't be a stoppage, just so that you know. Ordinarily, a travel would just allow a person to re-establish their pivot foot, but as the throw had gone and then we'd continued, we need to stop and reset. So play will be checked in shortly, or potentially the travel call will be retracted and the game will be given to the Honeys. As optimistic as that might sound, I don't think it's going to happen. I think on a universe point, retracting a call, it's an unlikely event.
Yeah, also I think classic of what you see in on a universe point. It's a challenge when tensions are high, you know, one call, and it's difficult to know when the game's moving so fast, when there is such energy that we saw right there. Difficult to remember what exactly happens. Yeah, there is no benefit of replay, just the honesty and spirit of the game between both players. But when you have so much adrenaline pumping in your veins, making the right calls and understanding what happened can be a challenge. Big respect to both teams for maintaining that spirited, calm conversation.
So
there.
It was a contested call, so it did reset. Leishman works with the rest of his handler set to push to the far sideline for Mance, putting one up, and there's a lot of float underneath it. Who's there? It's Aaron Whitehead. Big swing to Peters, to Poick.
On the high side, fakes the deep look.
Gets a bite out of Broadley. Peters back with Poick. Nice give and go to Siahani Royal, and a chip across to Rachel Larkin. Throws behind, but Poick reaches back for it. We're taking yards. Down under. Nice laser beam shot through, and Gardner clean and out of nowhere.
That is his signature right there.
Just appearing out of nowhere.
And getting an insane D. Honestly, I expected more of Gardner. That was just too easy for him.
How do you expect more from that?
It was just too easy for him. I'm really excited to see him pulling that out. That's something I've been expecting of him all game, is just that energy, the not in my house style defense. So really great to see that during this last point, critical for his team.
Absolutely. Broadly to Mance now, puts one through to Mance. Looked for Burke, but decided the defense was a little close. Not close enough on that next one.
Burke looking for the right options, finding in the middle of the field, Gardner.
Bookends. DJ flicks himself. Sean Gardner, what a play to finish the game. 15-14 to the Honeys. That huge out-of-nowhere block, and then helping to work the disc downfield, wide open in the end zone for a fantastic score. That is going to conclude the first day of ULTI.TV's coverage of the 2023 Division 1 New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships at Bob Dean Park in Ōtautahi, Christchurch.
Frisbee, friends, whānau, friends that are joining us, do treat yourselves to a manicure after that nail-biter of a game. I know I definitely will be. Thank you for joining us today. Back over to you, Blair.
As Kelsey said, my name is Blair Munro. I've been joined in the booth today by Kelsey Bielik. Who could ask for a better partner to share in the commentary duties for such an exciting tournament? could not be prouder to be your eyes and ears on the ground to bring you the very best in coverage, supported by the team at ULTI.TV. If you like what you see and you want to help us bring more Ultimate to your screens, head on over to patreon.com/ULTITV and give us your spare change. Every little bit helps. We will be back again with you tomorrow for more of this thrilling tournament. Thank you so much for watching.
Matewa.
ULTI.TV